can't help but thinking today on the announcement, you'll hear some of this later in the show, Valérie Plante, Projet Montréal today announcing their plans for the, I don't know what you want to call a Série development, if you will, of St. Catherine Street, which includes parks. And part of the questioning you'll hear, as I said, more on this later in the show. Part of the issue today was from our own reporter, I think it was Matt Grillo at CTV, right, asking them, hey, by the way, nice plan. We're hearing from merchants that they were never consulted about this plan. And that made me think about our next guest, because this concerns the Mount Royal Cemetery, the closing, of course, of Camillien-Houde, something the city decided to do after the biggest public consultation ever held in the city. And let's be fair, at the end of it all, they chose to ignore that consultation and go ahead and announce that come 2027, assuming this party is still in power municipally, Camillien-Houde, that road across the mountain, will be closed. So we hadn't heard much about this story in a while until now, when we found out the Mount Royal Cemetery is going to take legal action to stop the Plante administration from banning cemetery traffic when it closes Camillien-Houde. Let's try to find out more. Maxime Jacques is general manager of the Mount Royal Cemetery. He's on the line. Mr. Jacques, thanks for being here. Explain what's going on right now, because I know this dates back to an agreement you had going back literally 100 years ago.
Well, yes, this agreement is in place for a bit more than 100 years ago now, and we have to go back in time. The Mount Royal Cemetery has been established on the mountain since 1852, well prior to the Mount Royal Park in itself. And when the city wanted to make an extra access from the east end, making a tramway line on top of the mountain, well, they built that on pieces of land that used to belong to the Mount Royal Cemetery. So they were granted to the city of Montreal, and in exchange, we would have a right of way on Camillien-Houde for accessing for our staff and visitors and our lot holders.
So what is the issue now? Because as I said, this, we heard the announcement from the city over a year ago. It's not going to happen, apparently, if it does ever happen, hopefully until 2027. What are you now asking the city to do here? What's your issue?
Well, we're asking court first to say to the city that there's a disagreement in place. It's a black-on-white contract that stipulates that we must remain an access to the Camillien-Houde roadway. The city never. The city does this redevelopment project without respecting that right. First of all, and their project is just concerning for tons of issue, but mainly because of the security. They want to make sure that remembrance is the only way you can get up to the mountain by car, and there's no cross-mountain traffic going through, but that will only lead to diverting all those cars into the property of the cemetery, and that causes definite security reasons for the staff and the visitors.
So let me ask the question. I'm guessing you have had talks with the city before deciding to go ahead and do this. Have you gotten nowhere with the city? I mean, what's the attitude been?
Well, the city has been very difficult. They wanted to talk and get engaged with us, but they refused to acknowledge our long-standing right of way to Camillien-Houde. So there's not much to be discussed when they don't want to hear about the actual right that you have. Two companies together that would have a contract in between cannot just go ahead and do whatever they want, and it's a bit the case here with the City of Montreal. On top, they've been warned before the announcement of that project. They've ordered a report from CIMA Plus that warned the city about the agreements that we have in place, and the city just decided to go on their own with this, and despite the rights that we had.
So your next move here, you mentioned off the top, is seeking legal counsel here. What are they telling you? What is your legal team saying?
Well, we have a clear position with the contracts that we have, so we just need the court to acknowledge that and maybe force the city to revisit their plans.
Is that all it comes down to? I mean, if you have an existing contract, the contract is legal, yet you're suggesting the city, even though it knows you have this contract, is choosing to ignore it?
That's exactly what the city is doing right now.
So it would seem to me again, I don't know, but it would seem to me if you have a contract and it's with the city, is there something with respect to it, being 100? This document was signed how long ago?
In 1928.
Yeah, so we're talking roughly 100 years ago. Does that come into play? Is there an issue there? Could the city say, well, look, it wasn't signed, I don't know, whatever, with this administration. It's 100 years old. It doesn't mean it applies anymore. What have they told you about that?
Well, our legal counsel says that it still applies.
Mm-hmm.
It's been reinforced in the 50s when the tramway line was changed to an actual roadway, and they've at multiple occasions the city has acted on that contract as well, maintaining a fence, perhaps that was between the property and Camillien-Houde. So they always know that this contract was in existing, and just this current administration decided to ignore it. So,
and with respect to people, who have family or loved ones, within the Mount Royal Cemetery, have you heard from them as well?
Well, of course, yes, and they're very supportive of the actions we're taking today. Our little scenic routes throughout the cemetery are not meant to have diverted traffic from Remembrance or Camillien-Houde. It does not go along grieving families, nor the security of our staff on premises. And there's tons of visitors out of the cemetery that are maybe not climbing, but they're using it as a park, and they will put them in danger too.
So I want to make sure I understand this part as well. The city gives you basically nothing to work with in terms of moving forward or even negotiating anything. It's just like, this is what our plan is, and too bad you have a contract and you can go to court. So you're prepared to go to court. That's what you will be doing if you can't get a deal, right?
Done this week, yes.
Okay.
Deposit a file to court.
How long does that process take? Do you know what's involved in that?
Well, it really depends on the court, so it's a process of a few months, but hopefully with the injunction that is asked, somebody's going to be able to move a bit faster on that.
What does that mean with the injunction? Injunction asking what?
Asking the city stops the current work that they're doing towards the project of closing Camillien-Houde.
Closing it in, so stopping entirely while this is decided?
Yes.
Okay. I wonder too, look, and I realize this is just about the Mount Royal Cemetery, but with respect to that road across the mountain, is your understanding that this is still going to be closed entirely from one side to the other?
Well, the only road that's going to be left accessible is Remembrance coming from west, but it's creating a roundabout at the junction of Camillien-Houde and Remembrance, right where the entrance of the Mount Royal Cemetery is. So definitely the east ender of the city is not going to have access to the mountain, and it's going to limit a lot the accessibility. But it's a real problematic for us. Just imagine those who are used to cross the mountain through that same road. If they have a choice to go back from where they came from, or to access the cemetery to just cross the mountain, the choice is not hard. They will just follow and continue their path through the cemetery.
Okay. Again, I'm trying to understand as I remember that area. So you're talking about coming in from Remembrance, so from the Côte des Neiges side, from the west side, right?
Exactly.
You'd have to basically, by the time you get to the gates of the Mount Royal Cemetery, you'd basically have to turn around. You can't go across the mountain. You'd be going back the other way.
Exactly.
Wow.
So you have two choices. Either you turn around and go back Remembrance.
Yeah.
Into NDG, or you go into the Mount Royal Cemetery.
Okay. I wish you luck. And again, this is all, sort of predicated on this idea that the city, decides to hold a consultation, then ignore the results. I know that's not about Mount Royal Cemetery, but it is about Camillien-Houde. You're part of it. And I hope this actually moves forward. And I hope, you do get something, a concession from the city or something, because this kind of stuff just, I think, rubs everybody the wrong way. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
You bet. Maxime Jacques, General Manager at the Mount Royal Cemetery.